This meeting of, hey, you two. I have to have you escorted out. Okay, I'm gonna call the select board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Newman present?
Smith present.
Granson present. Now, if everybody can.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Did y'all have a chance to read our minutes
I did.
from February 14th?
Motion to approve the select board minutes from February 14th.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Newman, aye?
Smith, aye.
Cranston, aye. Okay. First thing on our agenda this evening is we have our crippled police chief, fire chief in here.
I have issues, but
You don't have to tell us.
This isn't the knee, though. It's a little higher up. Okay, David? David's gonna remain seated because he did just have some surgery on his knee yesterday.
Thanks. You want me to, do I have specific questions? You want me to just drive through
You
this?
can go through the highlights of
Okay.
it.
So I'll start with operating budget for the fiscal '25. Chief salary, an increase of $13,378 based on the assumed 3% COLA and an 8% for longevity pay. And the request for longevity pay is a result of the union receiving that in their current CBA. And in my tenure as chief, I've maintained parity with the stipends and COLAs that the full-time firefighters have received. So I respectfully request consideration for that. Fire department wages, request is increased by $37,845, which comes out to 4.36%. That includes contractual obligations of $33,966 for step increases, COLA, longevity, merit, holiday, and overtime expenses. And I just put a note in there. It's important to note that their CBA was approved after last year's annual town meeting, so there was no increase submitted for what they got in their CBA as part of the FY24 operating budget. So this operating budget makes up for both that and this current upcoming fiscal year. Expense budget is increased by $4,600, which is 2.14% for FY25, and that's just based on actuals like increased oil costs, and more vendors are starting to tack on a delivery fee and stuff like that for fuel surcharges. So that's based on actuals. I'll jump down to ambulance wages. Request is increased by $11,747, which includes contractual obligations as stated before on longevity, merit, holiday, and overtime. The expense side of it went up by $17,445. That's going to be a one-time expense and new equipment line item due to the fact that one of our automatic CPR devices in ambulance 2 has reached its end of life effective December of 2023. That specific item is $13,500. Again, based on the timing of, I wasn't able to get it on the capital expense budget. I probably would have factored it into the new ambulance line item or something like that. So that'll be a one-time hit that you'll see come off of next year's. So Physio Control, who is our preventive maintenance contractor, was unable to complete the software upgrade on the machine, so we were unable to certify it as part of the annual inspection. The other thing under the budget is the new position request. Originally, I had come looking for 2 positions based on where it looks like the budget is heading for FY25. Looks like we'll at least attempt to go for 1 position this year and 1 position next. This new position would bring our full-time staff to 8, excluding the fire chief and executive assistant, and allow a 2-person 24-hour coverage shift with 3 out of our 4 groups. So we would still need to maintain that 4th group with call and per diem for the overnight. The proposed salary cost for 1 position is $77,740, including stipends, holidays, and overtime benefits. And Bill and I have rough figured the benefit package to be approximately $30,000 and this funding would be through raise and appropriate. So I presented last week to the Finance Committee. I know they still have to vote on it, and I would just respectfully request that you consider the position as well. We've talked over the years. It's due to a bunch of variables, a busier department overall, and the call department is just, it's dwindling in numbers by the year. And it's a global issue. It's not subjective to Sterling. Sterling, we're actually still doing fairly well compared to a lot of our neighbors, so we're very fortunate as far as that, but it's tough to get people out the door during the overnight, stuff like that. So that's the main reason that, we take a look at that. Capital requests, this year we're looking to replace our 15-year-old self-contained breathing apparatus, which 15 years is end of life for self-contained breathing apparatus. This has been on our capital budget for 5 years. However, we've attempted to get this through grants. We've been unsuccessful due to the total price tag. We were able to reduce it from last year's request of $400,000 down to $209,000, and that was mainly because it included 2 thermal imaging cameras last year that we were able to take off due to a grant we received this year, and the fact that instead of getting all bottles at the same time, we've staggered the replacement plan on our SCBA bottles, so we removed them from the original purchase of this, and you'll see the bottles in future fiscal years purchases. So by doing that, we're able to reduce this single line item cost down to $209,000. Next, for this fiscal year, we're looking to replace a 20-year-old set of hydraulic jaws, also known as the Jaws of Life on ladder 1. They would be updated to the battery-powered jaw tools that we have on our other apparatus, so it would be interchangeable and maintained the same exact way. That request is for $27,500. And the last is to replace the HVAC units in the kitchen and bunk rooms, which were the former training and EMS offices that we've converted over the years. Both systems currently fail several times a year, which requires service calls from our HVAC contractor. This current system uses an old style gas to recharge, and the leaks become temporary and they're expensive. So when they fix them, they consider it a Band-Aid fix because it's a matter of time before the fluid leaks out and we have to recharge them again. That is a total cost of $28,000, but I think Bill is working to maybe be able to eliminate that from the capital budget this year. So that would be the third and final capital request for this year.
Dude, I have to say, after we go through all of this, Tom did a really nice job, his presentation to the finance board.
Yes.
Really nice,
Yeah.
very concise.
Thank you. As you know, the new ambulance was ordered last May with an anticipated delivery date of 750 days. I called Horton, who's the vendor, last week for their backlog report. They still don't have a date. Right now, they have it targeted at February 2025, which is only an estimate. Ford has still not assigned a VIN number for it. Once the VIN number is assigned, then we know that it's actually in production. And as you know, 6 years ago, we moved from a 10-year replacement plan to an 8-year replacement plan, just based on the fact that we were putting a lot of money into trying to, those last 2 years in the ambulance. And this will put it at 11 years, unfortunately, by the time. I mean, I think anybody who's in this business knows just the delivery times are just astronomical. In December 2023, 32 Lifesaver Awards were given out to dispatchers, firefighters, EMTs, paramedic, and police officers. In 2023, the Sterling Fire Department responded to 8 emergency calls involving cardiac arrest that resulted in patient survival. These positive patient outcomes demonstrate the coordinated efforts and response amongst all our public safety agencies. Starts with the dispatcher taking the call, getting the information together, sometimes giving over the phone instructions to the person that's calling. Police officer already on the road, arriving first, starting quality CPR, and ending with our medics doing the life-saving techniques that they need to do. So it was a bad year for the patient, but good year for patient outcome based on survivability. So, we recently received 2 grants. The first is an emergency management planning grant in the amount of $2,700. This grant will be used to purchase active shooter response kits for the rapid treatment of victims, hygiene kits for our sheltering trailer, and Stop the Bleed kits for upcoming training programs that we deliver throughout the year. The second grant is a firefighter safety equipment grant in the amount of $15,500. This grant will be used to replace two 15-year-old thermal imaging cameras and a rapid intervention firefighter rescue kit for Engine 4. Our SAFE coordinator, Phil Santos, just completed and submitted a grant application for this year's Student Awareness of Fire Education and the Senior SAFE programs. Last year, we were awarded a total of $5,500. It is a competitive grant, but generally we are successful in obtaining them. So Phil did a good job putting that together and getting it submitted. In addition, he also has to submit year-end reports, what we've done for spending, the programs that we deliver, because that all goes against the consideration of what the grant funds come up to. The department is scheduled to deliver CPR first aid programs to some local businesses in the upcoming months, including Davis's Farmland, Sterling Concrete, and places like that. In April, Jim Emerton will be delivering the annual safety lectures to the Sterling Little League coaches, and we have been doing this for a little over 10 years now. We took it over, for those of you that remember Dr. Mark Rastusha. Dr. Rastusha used to do the program, and when he stopped doing it, the fire department started taking it over. So, the fire department will be resuming monthly BP wellness clinics at the senior center. We were doing this prior to COVID, and it was taken over shortly thereafter by the VNA. They recently notified the senior center they would no longer be providing the service. So we're currently working with the senior center director to work with them once again. It looks like it'll be once a month. I believe it's third Wednesday or something like that. But she's working with Phil Santos and Jim Emerton to finalize those times. So it'll be good to get us back in there and doing that again. On January 11th, Lieutenant Fougere and I attended a tabletop exercise at Anna Maria College with the topic being active shooter. A full-scale drill is planned for this summer that'll incorporate a lot of the area departments in participating in that drill. I continue to attend monthly local, area, district, state chiefs meetings, and just to keep you updated, I continue to serve in the following capacities. I'm the president of Fire District 8 Mutual Aid Association. I'm the District 8 Director for the Fire Chiefs Association of Massachusetts. I'm the Secretary of Central Mass Emergency Medical Services, and I'm the chairman of the statewide fire mobilization committee. Incidents year to date, 286. This was as of last Wednesday, so I think we've added about 50 more since then, but that was broken down, 61 fire and 225 medical. Fire training year to date, in January we did forcible entry training. In February we did lift bag operations, our annual bloodborne pathogens training, and then last week we worked on firefighter rescue training. And based on, I'm sure what you've seen on the news about gas explosions in homes and things like that, the fire department will be retraining all our members on techniques for responding to reported gas leaks. So it's important, especially after the kind of some of the devastating, we had one in Berlin just last year as well. So that's gonna be our hot topic for February.
I get it, hot topic.
I speak those terms. That's what I have for you.
Kristen?
Everything looks good. Nothing seems excessive to me. I know the level of service that you provide. We see it all over Facebook too, everyone just raving anytime they have to have you come to their homes. So, I know it's appreciated, and happy. I mean, I myself am happy to support all of your efforts.
It's my turn. I just want to say thank you for what you and your department do for the town. I support everything you have here. The only thing I'm concerned with a little bit is the extra service that ambulance is going to be running. You're going to be able to put some extra maintenance money aside for that, for unforeseen costs? Or are you concerned about that at all?
Extra service of the current one?
When it runs beyond the 8-year?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say it. We're already up to, I sat down with Bill a couple weeks ago, so that particular ambulance one, we're already about 20. So my maintenance budget for the ambulances are $15,000 annually. We're already about $23,000 for ambulance one this year. And there's no rhyme or reason. It just seems to be that 8-year mark. They start, this year was airbags, some front end stuff. We had to do tires on both ambulances, as you know, the wear and tear on those. And then the HVAC is starting to go wonky in it. So, and unfortunately, the state comes out and inspects everything, so you have to have everything at 100%, 'cause, you know, even a tear in the seat. So you don't, the last thing you want to do is have to repair or replace a seat in a 10-year-old ambulance, but you get written up for that, and so, but you're right, that 8 to 10 year, and the reason we changed that for those that don't know is, the last one, our 2009 ambulance blew the motor at 9 years, so, you know, that was a big deal, because we hadn't even ordered a new one yet, and that's why we decided, you know, it probably made sense to go from a 10-year replacement to an 8-year replacement. So, yeah, and what we do, we're beating up ambulance 2 more, because that's up in the front row. We like to trade them out every 6 months, so as much as ambulance 1 can run primary, it will, but, you know, I think it puts a little more wear and tear on ambulance 2, so.
About how many miles per year do you put on?
That's a great question. If I had to guess, I'll say around the 40,000.
Not easy miles either.
Right, no.
Yeah, that's, you know, because we made, like, ambulance 2, our current primary ambulance, our newest one, it's also on a four-wheel drive chassis, which I think those get beat up a little more, but that tends to work a little better than the automatic tire change, because the automatic tire chains are kind of limited to 2 inches of snow with a four-wheel drive chassis. And you don't think it's a big deal, but in the wintertime, when people are calling, it's usually before their driveways are treated, or, you know, it's not about the roads, it's about the driveways. So that's why we usually chase it with our plow truck, so.
Thank you, David. And
While the chief is here, one thing that I was planning on bringing up during my report, but good timing would be maybe putting together a little bit of a ad hoc committee regarding staffing. Obviously, there was a request for 2, one of them's on there this year, but looking for the long term. So my recommendation would be member of the Select Board and Finance Committee, the chief, a member of their union, and me, if that's fine with you folks. So.
And I think it'll probably address what Lieutenant Kokonak spoke to last week, you know, the trends and the.
Yeah, the trends, the succession, and all of
Yeah.
that.
And unfortunately, we're well aware, you know, obviously staffing costs money. You know, so I think having a future plan will at least help the town prepare. There is potential grants to offset the cost for a few years, you know, but at some point in time, the town ends up owning it. But, you know, there is some potential help out there, but.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you to your staff.
Thank you.
Nice work on a daily basis.
Appreciate it. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
See that?
Okay.
Good as new.
The stairs, too. Yeah, he did. He was out of breath, but his leg was fine. I know, there's a couple people before you, Sean.
That's fine. I just didn't want to walk in while he was talking.
Okay, Historical Commission update. Kathy, you gonna speak to this? Podium, me?
I'm sorry, what?
If you go to the podium and your name, et cetera, and so on.
Oh, yeah. I'm Kathy Harajian of the Sterling Historical Commission. And, of course, our mission is always preserve history. That's our, our thing in town. And history is like a living thing, and it's always changing. Even today with Black history that's come on, I just want to point out, they're doing original research on people that were slaves in Virginia, and then they moved to Worcester, and one of the sisters moved to Sterling, and that particular family has an unmarked grave in the cemetery, and this is new history, so you see it's always changing and different things coming to light. So the family is looking to put markers on the grave, and more details will come on that. And, but anyway, do you have any questions for me, you know, or the you know, what the commission is doing?
Anything for you, Kristen?
over everything and paying attention to things on the Historical Commission's page, so I feel like I'm up to date on everything. I do wonder, I mean, we haven't gotten into the request for like painting. Are you able to do like volunteer efforts for the work? Is that?
Well, we've tried, we tried and we did get some help, but I think it's better handled by a professional. And that goes to the capital budget requests. I'm not sure where they stand now, but hopefully we might be able to get the painting done. And I hope the selectmen will support that at a minimum. We did request a little bit more. But, yeah, we've tried volunteers. They're, I guess it was during the pandemic too. Things were a little bit different, so we just.
Kathy, is there anybody looking at grants?
Yeah, we are looking at grants. We're always looking at grants, and I feel that the commission needs to work on inventory grants to get historians in and inventory the cemeteries, inventory the houses on, in the historic district, the new houses that have been added to the historic district over the years. And that's in the Sterling Master Plan. That's part of our from that document, that's part of what we're supposed to be doing. So and are you referring to painting though, looking for grants for painting?
Grants for anything as far as restoration or, painting and, the cemetery. And I also curious as to who guided you with the source of funding?
I'm sorry?
You have on your request.
On the capital request, well, we've got quotes, we've gotten.
No, I know, but you don't decide where the funding comes from.
No,
Okay.
I was advised, it was pushed here.
She gave me the sheet of requests and I put it in the form.
I was just wondering, because really you and Fred are the ones that decide the source of funding moving forward. Okay, so, David, do you have any questions?
Has anybody done a evaluation of the West Sterling Schoolhouse to see in which order these repairs should be done?
No, because we didn't really write a request. We had a 5-year plan. We are just looking, our vision for the building is just to maintain it, to keep it going, and so that it doesn't fall down. We're not looking for, roads and septic systems at this point. It was just, we went out 5 years and we had made a plan. And the FinCon committee does have a copy of that.
So this is already in the budget, right? These requests? Yeah, okay. All right, so it's already in the capital request, and as we move forward, then the voters will decide when we get to the meeting whether or not it works or not. I will tell you, I don't believe that the Finance Board or the Capital Committee supported this.
We did take a vote on it, and you are correct. It didn't get supported. We discussed with Kathy last night, however, at least smoothing it out. There are two elements of it, the painting and the window repointing. And the discussion last night said that it's likely that we can move the window repointing to next year and do the painting this year to even it out a little bit, Maureen. So.
Okay. Any questions from you, Kristen?
No. Okay. And I'd just like to say a few things about what's been going on with the Historical Commission that you may not know in general. The Stillwater Farm, the back milking shed has to be removed. The DCR is going to remove that just because of the hazard of the buildings. So that was something that went forward. And I just wanted to let you know that the Sterling Historical Commission has an Instagram webpage, and we have 516 followers. And there's information there about the Lafayette visit. I don't know if anything, I think the Sterling Historical Commission is going to have a program, but that's all I know of. That's in the works. And
anybody who wants to be an actor. No, that's not what they're called, but, you know, the impersonator that, you know, from that era and speak up we'd consider anything for people that are interested. But we also have a new page, Sterling Stories. We haven't put any information there, but it's a Substack page called Sterling Stories, and it should pop up, but as of yet, it's just getting going. And so we feel like we're reaching out to the community a bit more than other times, you know, on the social media. And I think that's good for the town in general. And this year, we also had a lecture that was very interesting about the Bus family, who were, I would call them abolitionists, but she was mostly an educator that lived in Sterling. And she's buried, and the family has a plot in the Chocksit Cemetery. And some more new research, a professor, what was his name? Christopher Wright. Where was he? Oh, Jonathan White. Professor of American Studies at Christopher Newport University. He has written a book, my work, well, he's analyzing the works of art of a town person, the Buses and the Bus family. So I think that's about everything that we've been doing over the year. Because we don't come in too often, you know.
No, nobody does, Kathy, don't worry about it. The only people here tonight are people that have something going on, just me. So, well, thank you for that update, and I think people should look for that, for your Instagram as well as your webpage. You know, the stories will be great, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's picture-oriented, the Instagram. But
Even better.
Yeah, right, it's, exactly. All right, well, thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you. 11 Princeton Road. Okay.
Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you for hearing our permit request today. We've previously gone to the planning board and have got approval for a subdivision at 7 Princeton, and our request is to get approval for the driveway. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
My only question is not really to you, but maybe, it says 11 Princeton.
Yep.
But, so is it 7 or 11?
It's 11, so between the time that we put it in, the fire department has reassigned the house numbers based
Okay.
off the subdivision.
Okay, all right, just making sure, because the plan said 7, so, all right.
Do you have any questions, David?
You are the property owner?
Yes.
What is your name?
Ryan Walker. I also live in town.
This has all been reviewed?
Huh?
This has all been reviewed?
It's all been reviewed by fire, DPW, building inspector, zoning, everybody. Everybody said yes. I think we're gonna say no. Just to be contrary. No, I don't, when the professionals look at this and they give the okay, I don't really see any, usually the question is, are you doing anything with the walls? And as long as they're back into repair, but that's part of your site plan anyway.
Yep.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the permit for entrance to public ways for Mr. Walker or Build Simple Incorporated.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Hey, hang on there.
Even I.
We're not done. Now I gotta say any further discussion, and we can just keep you here all night long. Cranston, all set. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Good luck.
Thank you.
And now I'm gonna skip over to our police department. It has a couple of requests.
I do have a couple of requests. I'll start with bragging though, if you don't mind. I don't know if you checked your town email today or this week. Officer Bork and Detective Chase We had a town resident who was a victim of a computer scam, mailed a check for over $100,000 to an address in Pennsylvania. Because of Officer Bork's quick action, he got the check stopped, and Detective Chase was able to reroute it back here. Usually, I guess it goes to Louisiana to some processing, and we managed to get it back to the victim within a couple of days, which is quite amazing these days.
Yeah.
But for anybody watching, it's still, if your computer tells you to send money somewhere, don't do it. If somebody calls, you think you might know them, don't go to the bank and lie and take out money and send it somewhere. It's still happening, and this is absolutely the biggest. It was either 104 or 107,000 in a check form, so once it was gone, it was gone. But again, Brian and John did a great job of getting that money back.
The same with when your computer tells you you have to call so-and-so because the computer is
Right, and then we
jeopardized.
go to
Don't do
CVS and buy the Apple cards for $7,000 and mail them to me.
Yeah.
And, yeah, all that stuff is,
None of those things.
right. John's been working with the banks in town, they've gotten a lot better at stopping things like that, but it's obviously still happening. So that was the first one. The second one in your package was our SEMLEC agreement, which is the Central Mass Law Enforcement Consortium. It's just a mutual aid agreement for, they have a SWAT team, the motorcycle team, the drones, accident reconstruction. We've been members since Chief Denmark was here, so probably 25 years. They've had some new leadership take over, and the original signed documents went missing, so they've updated it and just asked that we resubmit them. So that's really nothing new. So if you could look that over and see if that's something that we can continue on, and that would be fantastic. Hoping to take advantage of their drone program in the future. And I know Andrew DePietro, who came to us from Rutland, he was working with the motorcycle unit in Rutland, and he may end up doing the same, so.
Did you have a chance to read this?
I did.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion that we agree to sign the updated mutual aid agreement for the Central Mass Law Enforcement Council.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Newman, aye.
Smith, aye.
Krantz and I. It's nice that you stay, Mr. Walker, but you don't have to. Nobody ever does.
I usually bail when I can.
Yeah. Actually, they usually leave before we even, okay, and then you had something else for us, Sean?
I do. So there's a mandatory retirement age in Massachusetts for police officers at 65 years old. Through special legislation, you can extend that period of time, which has become pretty commonplace to the degree that one of the Western Mass legislators, I found, submitted a bill back in October to just make it statewide solution, but that looks like it's stuck in a committee somewhere. Scott Blakeney came to us from Worcester. He did 34 years in Worcester. He's been with us almost 6 years. He will turn 65 this year. For whatever reason, he'd like to continue to work for us. Dave Johnson, I think it's 5 years or 6 years, but he intends to stick around. Scott Johnson will be retiring this year, and he won't hit that number for 10 years, but either way, there's a way we can make a blanket solution to keep Scott around and hopefully keep DJ and Scooter around. That starts with you guys getting your support, and then we can send it to town meeting for the voters, and then eventually submit it to the state to have a bill passed that allows us to extend. Like I said, it's become pretty common. Millbury was one of the ones that I used for their information. I think my write-up is basically Millbury's. But for whatever reason, people want to stick around, and Scott's been really good to us, so it seemed like...
Because he loves our town and he wants to do community service.
He is, but after 40
He
years of
said we
law
don't even have to
enforcement-
pay him. I heard him tell Vicky that.
Well, actually, and we really don't, it's just the vendors, I mean, he's responsible. So I guess what I'm asking for, if we could, if your support to move it to town meeting, we can have the voters do it. Essentially, the difference is we have regular full-time officers, we have our special officers, and then we have our traffic constables. Traffic constables are not armed, they don't drive a cruiser. In this case, we have DJ and Scott, which are special officers. They are out on the street in full uniform with the cruiser, with their weapon, and they have backed up our officers on call. So it's just a way to have more people out there for no cost to the town.
Any questions, Kristen?
Nope.
David? Okay, well, then I would entertain a motion that we would support the police department for this special, what would you call it?
So we're trying to get something on the warrant to support the
Dispensation.
legislation for a special act.
Yeah.
It's going to say.
Right. Okay. 'Cause this is kind of wordy. All right.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Newman, aye.
Smith, aye.
That's an aye. Thank you, Scott, for
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you.
trying to up again.
Time to go.
Huh?
Time to go.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
So now we'll go back to do that. All right, so last meeting, the finance board had sent us a copy of a letter they would like to see us sign off on to the legislatures regarding Chapter 70 funding. And it was all, did y'all get a chance to read it?
Yep.
Okay. Any changes in it?
Looked good to me.
David?
I'm okay with it.
Find it a little wordy?
Yeah.
So did I. But we can put it together and send that off. Bill will sign off on it at some point. And then you want to talk to us about the proposed bylaw changes?
Sure, obviously
I know, we didn't, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was jumping ahead to the finance board also. I'll entertain a motion to support the suggested letter from the finance board to the legislators regarding Chapter 70 funding.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Newman, aye.
Smith, aye.
Grants and I. And now, you want to talk to us about these bylaw changes?
So last meeting, we had accepted moving forward with the Board of Health one, with Mr. Lane. The one that we will move forward, hopefully tonight, is the Chapter 70, Section 3, committee recommendations, changing the word rate to levy, and we will push off until next year when we have a little bit more time and not in the middle of, I don't know, a few elections, the changes to the town meeting voting.
Any questions, Kristen?
Nope.
None?
David? All set? I want to entertain a motion to approve that proposed bylaw change. Have it, it'll be on the warrant?
Yes. And that's a general bylaw, so it doesn't have to have anything in
Right.
particular.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Newman, aye.
Smith, aye.
Grants and I. All right, let's talk about, Mr. French, are you here for any particular reason?
Just for the excitement.
I thought so, but I thought I'd give you a chance to, I was thinking, yeah, hang on. I was thinking you might be here for the open space mapping DLTA.
I'm interested in hearing about it.
Yes, okay. All right, so we can skip to that.
Sure. Stephen has been working with the Open Space Committee and is seeking the board's approval to send in a grant application for the District Local Technical Assistance Grant, which would support some of the things in the master plan, one of them being to map the town's chapter lands, and a few other items, DEP wetlands and FEMA flood zones, which obviously will be updated, some of the vernal pools, and protected and recreational open space. So this would have the Regional Planning Commission assist in the mapping and overlays so that they have this information all in one spot. So if you have no problem with that, Stephen will submit the grant application with the letter attached and see if they get approved.
Any questions, Mr. French?
I think it's a good idea.
I do too. For a couple of reasons, because nobody else has raised their hand and said, hey, we could use that assistance, you know, and it's kind of a no-brainer when you're doing that, so. David, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Kristen?
Nope.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the DLTA grant, writing submission by Stephen for specifically the open space mapping.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Newman, aye.
Smith, aye.
Still awake, Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Okay, and now we want to talk about some ARPA funding.
Sure. A couple of years ago, back in I don't know what the date was exactly, 2022, you had approved some money after the citizens petition, which was 2019 or 2020, for the Houghton Playground. Obviously, those costs increase. Our representative and senators, I know we had in and out changes of a couple of them, were able to secure an earmark, so we did not have to utilize that ARPA funding. So the first one that I would say is mostly so we have a record of it, to rescind that $115,000 disbursement for that, and also the remaining $1,798 for the building commissioner vehicle that we approved earlier, about a year ago actually, if you want to start there.
Okay,
The second one would be repurposing those funds, which still leaves us roughly the same balance to designate to the downtown as we're moving closer, which would take care of a couple things that fell between the cracks on capital or had come up somewhat unexpectedly, which would take care of the HVAC system at the fire department, cameras in the lockup room at the police department. This would allow us to fund the storm damage from September storms. Obviously, Leominster had significantly more damage than us, but that was a FEMA denial, so we won't be getting any federal assistance. There may be some state funds, but obviously if we don't fund this, it will affect our free cash going next year. So if something comes in, obviously we can pull that back another time. The furniture that we had discussed at the previous meeting or two about the furniture at the COA and the LED efficiency lighting at the library, that was on the capital plan. So it takes care of a couple items that are on there and a couple unforeseen or unexpected items that came up in the last couple months. So, and it keeps us about the same balance and reuse the funds that we'd already allocated that we didn't need to.
They're pretty solid numbers or just an estimate?
These are the quotes. So the storm damage is a yes, and those are all quotes that they had submitted with their budgets and capital requests.
David?
I think this is a, good use of the money.
Yeah. I like it, so I would entertain a motion that we approve the ARPA funds for these particular issues. They're not really issues.
So moved.
Seconded.
Monetary request. All right, yeah, no, I think it's a good way to use it, and we were lucky that we did get the grants for the playground,
Absolutely.
which costs more than 115.
Yeah, it was 217 plus the fencing, so
Yeah.
that leaves the balance of 1.2, and I can talk about the downtown. Not that we have a huge update, but obviously that is somewhat committed there. One of the changes to the MassWorks grant is a 25% grant match requirement, so that is going to put us at least, depending on the price, in the ballpark of that 25% plus what we'd already approved for Comcast and have for Verizon from town meeting vote several years ago.
Well, sounds like a good plan. All right, you wanna do your report?
Oh, I guess we're up there anyway.
Yeah.
Guess I should have just kept going.
Yeah.
Surprised you didn't.
One of the things that Sean had sent out to us was that there is going to be some vacancies coming up as public safety dispatchers, one more immediate than the other, coming near the end of the fiscal year. I know we've received a bunch of applications, but if anybody's interested, that is a current opening. Budget update, we are meeting with the schools tomorrow, hoping they're doing some work on fine-tuning their budget to a reasonable number. For Wachusett, we have the insurance numbers. Vicki did a lot of work on that, and we appreciate it. And the Worcester County retirement came in a little higher than we expected, but Vicki got some numbers on that as well, so thank you. I had already mentioned the staffing committee. I suppose you can probably put that on as somebody you want to select at your next meeting. So you guys can think about that and discuss it at the next meeting as well. You guys too. Mentioned the vacancy announcement. One of the other things that we'd looked at is the windows for this building. The original prices that we had got, and we have funding this year at town meeting, was the windows. That price did not include prevailing wage. So one of the routes that I think we would probably best serve us would be to have somebody take a look at doing this project all at once down the road. So I did contact a couple somewhat local engineering architecture firms, including the company that did the roof, to give us a proposal as to what that would be, and use this year's money on that part, not all of it, to give us the bid docs and everything. Obviously, there's some more structural questions when it comes to these windows than the one and done windows in the basement that we were able to piecemeal together. So that's where we are. One company had come out already, which is the same company that had done the work on the roof, and will get us a proposal, and it may come up and maybe do it this year or maybe do it next year. But it should probably be a one-hit project as opposed to trying to piecemeal one set of windows at a time over a few years. We're looking at sometime this summer, hopefully, for the library elevator modernization. Nothing changed there. Ryan and I have been working on the storage facility, which we're looking at placing behind the police station. We had finally got a decent set of bid specs and vendors that we may be able to work with and put it out to bid and potentially get to a price that falls within what has been approved. But that has been an uphill battle. Mr. Mackey, unless you have any input, we are going to be working on some of the tree work at the beach, which conservation has already approved, and with the earmark and the other grant that we'd received, try to get some of the trenching for the erosion control down there, the tree work, and then we can see what we have for additional work to get this project done as quickly as possible. Obviously, those funds expire at the end of the fiscal year, so we are on a bit of a time crunch. The same thing goes for the Maple Street sidewalks and Bird Street sidewalks. That's been out to bid and contracted with Lazaro, who's been who was the winner of the contract. So that'll get started this spring. That also has to be done and reimbursement in by the end of the fiscal year. So we have quite a few projects along with the downtown design for the water main, stormwater, and the above ground road, sidewalks, ADA stuff, parking. So we're moving along quickly on that. The biggest thing would be to get a general idea of the price on the downtown work so that we can start submitting some grants or speak to our legislators about an earmark and see what we can come up with as a town potentially, if anything. So it will be a disruption if/when we get to construction. Those are the major items. Do have a legislative breakfast for the MMA on Friday. I know they've been sending out some advertisements, but there's three sets of them this month. So I'll go to this Friday's.
Do you want to talk about this intermunicipal agreement suggestion, or do you
Yeah,
want
so there's
to look it over and put it on our next agenda?
I'd forgotten about that.
Damn it.
Supplement's on a separate page. So I've obviously updated you along the way. This kind of puts it in a little bit better terms in the two things that we are looking at. The first, I guess the more pressing one would be the conservation agent, and that would be with the town of Rutland. Obviously, we had an agent here for 23 years, and in the 2 years I've been here, we're going on our fourth one since Matt's retirement, and two others. They both happen to leave for full-time benefited positions. If we are able to share a position, obviously with your approval, It wouldn't change the budget too much. We'd have to budget for the benefited piece going into next year, but that's obviously 50% of it. That would be providing some stability and, for the towns and I think the employee and the job description. We are trying to shape it a little bit to include the stormwater, which originally when we did the compensation study and the job descriptions wasn't really a big part of it, but obviously the bylaw falls to them and is a slightly more significant piece. Any questions on that one?
No.
Okay.
Good luck. Kind of goes along with the same thing that the fire department has talked about as far as things are different now, and you don't have a line of people showing up for these jobs.
Yeah, wetland delineation, the Wetlands Protection Act, obviously the stormwater bylaws are simple and not simple all at the same time. I think we can see some of the stormwater, particularly with the Onyx project we've been working on is a heavy lift, and outsourcing that to a engineering firm, environmental firm has been the way they've had to go at this point because it's such a large scale on that one in particular. But we'll have hopefully maybe a draft of the IMA for next meeting and the job description to review and get closer to finalization. The second item, which would be a shared building inspectional services commissioner. Every town is required to have a commissioner. Anybody that doesn't have a commissioner needs to have one. We are very lucky to have an experienced and very good commissioner in Tony. But we know that there's a lot of towns that have theirs retiring, moving on. It is not an easy position to fill. The last bullet, or the next to last bullet on that piece, notes that you need to have a construction supervisor's license, a local inspector classes, the exams, a certain amount of time on the job, the additional classes and the additional exams to become a building commissioner. We're trying to lock him in here. We currently share him with Boylston. So it's 50-50. What we are potentially seeking, the three towns, it was originally 4 at one point, would be to share Tony and hire a part-time local inspector. So Tony would oversee all 3 towns. He would be obviously everywhere, but the local inspector would focus his time in West Boylston, since we already have the agreement there, but this would share the 3 towns and divide everything by 3, so the financial impact would not change. It also gives us the stability for if he goes on vacation, somebody were to get sick, we're not calling in Clinton or another town to fill those roles at an increased cost, and also gives us some succession planning as the current set of commissioners around the state are aging out and retiring. So that's where we are on that. I
I'm
know
gonna make sure we're able to obtain this part-time
we
inspector
know of
before
some
we give
people-
up.
Yeah, we know that there are some people that are interested.
Okay.
Whether it's retirees or some that are trying to get into the field. So if it was somebody getting into the field, it might be a conditional appointment till they get their local, but it would be some learning on the job. But you have to have the construction supervisors just to get in the door on the local, plus the classes and exams. So it's not somebody that would be green off the street. So that's where we.
Anybody in our building department expressed interest in this, other than Tony?
I can't speak to that.
Okay, just curious. I was a former building inspector.
Yeah.
I'd like to see if we could bring that person along. Not that they said they would be interested,
Yeah.
but, okay. Any other questions?
I would
Kristen?
assume Tony's good with this.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
we've all talked with him, we've talked amongst ourselves trying to see if this is even feasible. Obviously, the benefits for one person now to get divided by 3, the salary gets divided by 3 for the 2 positions, and it still comes in about the same dollar amount, so. And then each town still maintains the 20 hours, but now you've got that backup there if somebody goes on vacation, gets sick, whatever's going on. Or an emergency happens and somebody's not immediately.
Okay. Anything from you, David?
No, it's just that, I know how hard it is to fill these positions, and with the requirements that the state mandates now, it's impossible for a town to hire somebody with, the qualifications and pay, so this is the only logical way on it.
And it would give us some options if somebody were to try and leave one of the towns. We can't do it immediately because obviously we're budgeting around 3 towns. We may put a provision in there in the case that a 4th town entered, like we had originally talked about, how that would work as well. Because I know that there's at least 2 or 3 in the general area that are retiring in the next year or so. It may behoove us to try and bring in a 4th town to mitigate that some more.
Okay. We have a letter in our book that's not actually on the agenda. Did you share this with the Finance Committee?
I have not yet.
From the DPW?
I have not sent it over yet. I figured it would go to you guys first as correspondence and then send it over.
Did you read it?
Did.
David?
I was actually at the DPW meeting last week, so.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's-
So this is a letter basically to us, but with regards to the Finance Committee. So I think they need to read. I'm not going to read it out loud because it's kind of long and not so positive. So if we just would send a copy over to all the members of the Finance Committee, not just the chair. That I would entertain a motion to do that.
So moved.
Seconded,
All those in favor?
Newman, aye.
Smith, aye.
France and I. Okay, and PSAs, we've got a couple. First off, March 5th, elections. Early elections are going on right now, right here in the town hall, but then elections over at the Houghton School on March 5th, Tuesday. Nomination papers are available for anybody that would like to get on an elected board. Every elected board, as well as the library trustees, everybody's looking for people. So don't hesitate, even if there's an incumbent running, feel free to take out papers and put your name on the ballot. I feel. Would you like me to show you where the town clerk's office is, Mr. Walker? I happen to have some blanks right here. I don't. So there's that. Also, there's on March 6th, which is next Wednesday, it's a Economic Development Public Forum. It's at 6:30. It's over at the 1835 across the street. Very important. It's talking about zoning and economic development and things that we did in the master plan that we may want to look at as far as that. Economic development is important to pay for all these things we talk about. Want to see your taxes be a little bit stabler? That is the way to go. So Stephen will be presenting. So Wednesday, March 6th is 6:30. If you can't make that, and there'll be snacks, okay, if that helps. And then if you can't make that, there's the same forum will be held on Saturday, March 9th at 9:30 in the morning. And they'll have coffee. So it's really talking about town zoning for economic development. Because right now it's limited and outdated, and he's trying to straighten it out, but he wants the public's input. So that's that. And then one thing I want to remind all committees and boards, when somebody's on your agenda, you need to let them know that. You know, it's not right that we would talk about any person, department, or anything like that if we haven't notified them, just as we move forward. I know you do, Kama. I thank you for that. All right. And then, do we have any movement on the scholarships?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. I would like to, maybe on our next agenda, talk about opening it up to existing college students. I know last year we did have at least one applicant that is already in college, but we don't have it that he's eligible for this, you know. But it's so hard to get people that if we could add that.
It's very early yet.
I understand it's early.
They're really not due until April 30th, so mostly in the past, they've come in the last week or two because there is quite a bit of work that they need to put into these applications.
Right. But what I'm saying, well, first of all, if we bring it up March 13th, which is our next meeting, right? Then we can make a decision, but, you know, even if we just accept somebody applying for it that's not just starting school, and be considered, not the first pick. You know, you could always just have that as a backup list, as opposed to, okay, these get filled first, type of thing. But, I know we talked about it a couple of years ago too, but we had people applying then. But, anyway, anything from you, Kirsten?
Nope.
Okay, we'll see you next Wednesday at the forum. Great.
Yes, you will.
I have nothing, and I will be there Wednesday at the forum.
Oh, great.
So bring some cookies for me.
I don't have anything to do with it. I just show up. Okay, anything from you, Mr. Mackey?
Just to spin off of something that Bill was talking about in terms of the grants and the money that we've saved the taxpayers in town, maybe we ought to consider sending a letter to our representatives and senators who were involved in saving the town about $300,000, both for the beach project and for the school playground project. They hardly ever get thanked publicly, and it seemed like the right kind of thing to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say anything. It's a very nice idea, Mr. Mackey. We'll get right on that. Mr. Walker, would you like to contribute anything? Did you have fun tonight?
Just curious.
Okay, March 13th, we'll be here again. But there's plenty of meetings, just check your calendar. Mr. French, you know we always love to hear from you.
I know.
Don't you know any conservation agents that are looking, some that are retired? Nothing?
I wish I did.
Kathy, are you still awake?
Just barely.
Yeah, I can tell.
It's past my bedtime.
Okay, you're all set. All right. Ms. Vicky?
Yes, I just wanted to let everybody out there know that the excise tax bills went out. And so they should be receiving them in the mail in a day or two. So come on in and see us.
Wait. Didn't we
I know
just
there was a
pay a
comment on
tax
the
bill?
community page, so I wanted to make sure I said something.
Okay. And Mr. King?
I believe at this point in time, we completed all the departmental interviews as of last night morning, so I'm going to let you know that.
Oh, I watched.
You watched?
Yes,
So.
yes.
So I believe we're through that whole process. I think that satisfies the requirement for the televised departmental stand-in presents to your satisfaction.
So you're not going to have a Saturday meeting with the department heads, the major ones?
Uh,
Because I understand that the police department was on your agenda last night, however, was not notified.
Well,
Did
that
you-
was the liaison breakdown, I would say, I guess, right? If
The
you-
liaison for the police department happens to be,
I'd have to look it up.
I believe it's the chair of the finance board, Mr. Handy. So that's a big, uh-oh. So I don't know, I mean, we can have them do it here if the finance committee doesn't want to have them. But,
Would you like to have it, in addition to all the stand-in presents that we've had with the
we'll
department?
talk about it. All right, so. Anything else, Karma? You're it, you're the last one, last man standing. Or not. Okay, with that, then I would entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
You and I?
That's an aye.